Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. I thought I had a little bit more time to take a drink. Get that music started here. All right, guys. Monday. Sorry, I was a little bit late, by the way, because I recorded over the weekend and forgot to get like my camera set up correctly and everything. All right, to the charts immediately. So in Zen, we got a little bit of some downside action overnight again. Very interesting. And S&P 500 also to the downside. Do they not like the higher rates? I wonder. Oil. Oil haven't, well, they kind of moved down on Friday, but they're recovering today. Gold and man, gold looks amazing. I tell you what, man, it's crazy how much of a difference like just 2 or 3 days can make, right? I mean, it's been on a trend for a while, but that trend right there is amazing. It's amazing. Copper's doing okay too. Japanese yen. Okay, well, the downside in the Japanese yen isn't as bad, so maybe that's okay. And Bitcoin, they're still reaching for that 70K, but it looks like they've pulled back a little bit for now. So, I wonder if we come over to a daily on Zen here. Okay. So we still kind of got like that 24-ish area below us, and you can see it over here on the profile. Right below that, there's a relatively large order there, and I would say that the liquidity this morning is unusually high. There we go. I keep hearing that gold and silver's trajectory in a high interest rate environment isn't a good sign. Isn't a good sign for what? For the economy? Yeah. So I don't know. Oh, what did my headphone just did something weird? No, I think we're okay. Might be going out. Might need to open things up and do this side. So I think that the reason you buy gold, generally speaking, is either A, you think like the world is going to end, or B, you think that countries are going to debase their currencies, essentially, right? So what's happening right now is I think that market participants are concerned, that there's still a risk of inflation going up. And as such, that interest rates could rise again. But rather that interest rates should rise again. But that they're kind of concerned that the Federal Reserve won't do it. Right? So I think you're right. If we thought there was going to be a credit event, we thought there was going to be a credit event, then that would be a reason to buy gold, right? But if you think that there's going to be inflation and the Federal Reserve is kind of going to neglect it, that it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of the same trade. You know what I mean? Now, the one thing that I would watch for, or that I'm watching for rather, is how does gold react after the election? Because it could be an election related thing. Like maybe you get in here, Donald Trump wins, and then they go, oh, well, maybe the Federal Reserve will keep interest rates high to piss off Donald Trump or something like that. You know, like could change. Now, the other thing though is that there has been credit spreads for the US expanding, and that is very much indicative of a credit event. That is very much and we really have no clue what could be causing that. But you know, it kind of suggests that there's a bank out there that's actually having a little bit of trouble. Like they have to borrow a lot of money to shore up their balance sheet, and they're having to pay up big time to get it. I wish I was short overnight. Well, it's not that big of an event. Will says no way that a credit event occurred. Well, no. The plunge protection team is therefore if a credit event occurs, but they're probably not going to do very much to prevent it from occurring in the first place. Well, I guess they might do a few things. They might help. I mean, the Federal Reserve is there with their discount window and everything to help people. But, like, clearly something's happening, right? Something's happening. And now the thing is, though, is that, like, something's been happening for a few weeks, right? I mean, this move in gold has been happening for a few weeks. I think that the credit swaps that happened started, like, 2 weeks ago, I think. So, like... So squeeze on balance sheet holdings that can be converted to par via the BTFP. Oh, you're talking. Sorry, I'm totally misread what you were saying, Will. I totally misread what you're talking about the little program that they made. Okay, but the BTFP expired, didn't it? The Bank Term Funding Program. As of March 11th, 2024, the Bank Term Funding Program has ceased making new loans. Oh, yeah. So I don't think that would help anybody. Yeah. Sorry, were you saying rates are going up? Rates are going up on the back of a Trump win probability? Okay, now that's also an interesting assertion and something that I have suspected as well. I'm not entirely sure, but it seems to me that, and here again, this is one of those things where it's like you got to realize the market's not perfectly efficient and the market can be wrong about things, and there can be information out there that's not properly factored into the price, and it can remain unfactored into the price for a really, really long time. But it seems to me that there are some people out there in the Democrat Party, because this has kind of been Kamala Harris's, like big economic argument, is that if Donald Trump becomes president, he will impose new across the board 20% tariffs, because that's what he's saying he wants to do. He doesn't have the ability to do it, but he wants to do it. And that would cause inflation and force the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates, or at least stop reducing them. Yes. Personally, I don't think that that's too likely. I think that if Donald Trump gets in office, his ability to, to hold China's feet to the fire will be somewhat limited. I suppose he will be able to do the things that he was doing before in his first time around. Because remember, there was this whole thing that his actions before COVID did reduce the amount of goods and so forth that we were bringing in. But I wonder if that kind of just delayed demand. Maybe that played a part in the crazy demand from China that we got after COVID, right? Because by the time that COVID was done, the amount that we were importing even more than before, which I think really pained Donald Trump. So he'll probably go back to that and at least kind of do those things to kind of discourage it. But he's not going to be able to do 20% across the board interest rate cuts. And when he was doing things before, we weren't seeing widespread inflation. So, I'm not convinced myself that it's the greatest trade in the long run, but it could be a flow right now for sure. The place that I've been looking is just that there are funds. Goldman has does Goldman have it? I don't know who has it, but there's a basket of stocks that are viewed as stocks that should go up if Donald Trump wins, and that basket has been moving up. So it really, really seems that the market thinks that Donald Trump is going to win. By the way, related subject, the whole Pollinax thing, people saying, oh, the betting markets think that Donald Trump is going to win, and a lot of people really believe in the betting markets. I don't, personally. I don't. But apparently, the move on Pollinax was created by just 4 accounts. And it's possible that all 4 of those accounts are owned by the same person. So it really was just one to 4 guys moving that whole market and changing all of the betting odds. Now, it might not be somebody just trying to manipulate the betting markets. It may be somebody that's just making a legitimate trade, but just know that that's all caused by one guy. Investors need to buy long-end bonds to see a higher return on the back of stoking inflation, higher fiscal spending. I don't know about that one. I mean, I suppose that you would see flattening, sure, but everything's falling, right? And it doesn't take much, man. When you come back and you look at this chart and you look at where we're at, right? Just kind of chilling at that 200-day moving average. I think it would not take much to just get all of the bonds to be selling hard. I mean, if there was a really good fundamental reason for them to be selling the treasuries, and then all of the momentum and everything on top of that, I think you would get a pretty crazy. Delete that, by the way. I don't need that anymore. I think you'd get pretty crazy downturn. No. Well, but you said investors to buy long end bonds need to say a higher return on the back of a higher fiscal spending. Because anybody that owns bonds right now, if we go back down again, they're going to be very, very unhappy, right? Everybody that bought through here, and there was a lot of money that bought through there, going to be very, very upset if yields start going higher again. Yeah, in order to buy the physical union. Okay, so you're saying the yield needs to be higher in order for there to really be demand in treasuries. Ergo, we're going to sell and find that floor where they are willing to buy them. Maybe. You know what, though? Like, if it wasn't for this day was it 2 weeks ago? If it wasn't for that non-farms number, which honestly, I don't know if it's real. At this point, I don't know what to think about the non-farms numbers. But it is what it is. But if it wasn't for that non-farm numbers, things would be looking pretty good in the bonds. And I think that there'd be all sorts of people saying, oh yeah, we buy the bonds because we're going up. Soft landing, normalizing interest rates. This is 4% is as good as it gets, yada, 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 right? Oops. Was I showing the chart? It wasn't for this thing right here. I don't know if I really have a reliable enough insight into what will happen that far in the future. I can see the possibilities, but trying to tell you will bot like, because really what you're saying is in the next 3 to 6 months, interest rates will be higher and bonds will be lower. Is I think that the prediction that you're trying to make. And I don't think I can call that. Long end. Yeah, it would move down and the yield curve will flatten. Like this will come back down to here and this will kind of, flatten. That's what you think is going to happen. Oh, I just realized that I am not logged in on my financial juice. Because I got an advertisement. I'm like, what? Oh, no, I have that saved. Okay. Better. $425 to $450? Well, hold on a second. I'm trying to decide if that's crazy or not. Let's just now let's do it this way. Just grab a new one. Just make a new one. 10-year micro yield futures. And we want daily bars and go back a year. That's not right. I mean, I have pulled up a chart of this before and it looked okay. if I just do 5 minute? Okay, that works. 30 minute. Please to load 365. Can we load a whole year? I guess 4.5 seems pretty reasonable. I'm not willing to put that bet on, though. In fact, I don't know how I would look at this, but I'm going to bet you... Oh, actually, yeah, I do know how we can look at this. Let's go and look at the Fed survey. Let's see here. Not the Fed survey. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York survey. Bond survey. Federal Reserve. I forget what it's called. Is it this one? Senior Loan Officer Opinion on Bank Lending Practices? Nah, that can't be it. Nah, not FedWatch. I'm not finding it. I know that there's a survey. It's not the survey on bank lending practices, though, I don't think. But there is this survey. Oh, maybe it's the survey of market participants. That sounds more like it. There we go. September results. What are your expectations for the most likely levels of FOMC participants' target federal funds rate projections in the SEP? Year-end 2024, 4.63%. Which is basically what the market is expecting, right? What the FedWatch says. Somewhere in here they say what they think the 10-year will be at. Maybe they didn't ask it anymore. Money market spread rates. Only your estimate of the longer run federal funds rate and your expectation for the average federal funds rate over the next 10 years is lower. I don't know. Anyways, what got me going on this? So, Stefan, you said 425 to 450. So that is generally what FedWatch is saying, but that's for the federal funds rate, and I'm talking about the 10-year. Or who was it that said that they expected that the 10-year will be there? Oh, maybe I just was hallucinating. I thought somebody said that we expect it to go to 4.5. That's unlikely. So I can't really find some good data to back this up, but I would bet you that the general expectation from the market is for the 10-year yields to decline below 4%. I think that the market is a little bit taken back by this recent rise, but that they think that over the next year that it's still going to come down. Now, while I've been doing all this yapping, something's definitely going on in the treasuries today. I would say it's about 15,000 contracts net sell and pretty good liquidity. So it's not so aggressive that I want to really get involved per se, but it's definitely more activity than we typically get on a Monday. Although we've been getting pretty good activity on Mondays lately. Sorry, I was looking at something. Just have another interview later today. I wanted to make sure that that was all still set up correctly. You know, you want to talk about Trump working at McDonald's yesterday? I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about the event itself, but I tell you what, man, Reddit sure was unhappy about it. I tell you what, after the election is over, I guarantee you there's going to be this thing that's going to come out that Kamala Harris was basically astroturfing advice animals in a couple of other major subreddits. And you can totally tell, you know, what March. So, like, the thing that makes me so certain that it is astroturfing is the way that they will shift the message. It's like there will be a story or whatever out there that it might not even be very big in the news yet. And like every post will be about that thing, when it really makes no sense for people on Reddit to be that interested in it. And a lot of the time, it is like pushing back on Donald Trump. So they were making this whole big thing about how it was just a photo op and all of these. Well, of course, it's a campaign event. All campaign events are photo ops. Are you kidding me? Just like when Kamala Harris was surveying damaged hurricane areas, right? And they kind of all had it. They were all setting up the shots and stuff like that, right? I'm going long Zoloft if Trump wins. Who was it? Mark Hopbrand that was saying that, like, if Donald Trump wins, it will be the trigger for the largest mental health crisis in history. And probably there's some people that are gonna have some real trouble because they have a view of the world that, first of all, is like everything is over if Donald Trump wins, and two, they live in a false reality. They think that there's no way that Donald Trump can win. They think that like Kamala Harris has got it in the bag. They're so confident. And so when she loses, it's going to absolutely destroy their confidence in the world itself. And that can do nasty things to people. Can do nasty things to people. It's kind of like when you're a kid, like one of the two things that you kind of try to figure out as a kid is, one, am I competent? And two, am I safe? Like, are the people around me safe? And if you think that you're safe, and then all of a sudden something happens that makes you think you are not safe, it completely destroys your image of the world. But the other thing that I will say about Donald Trump's working at McDonald's was it was a really well done campaign event. Like they like live streamed the whole thing, so you can like watch 3 hours of Donald Trump working at McDonald's. I think that well, I didn't watch the whole thing, but from what I could see, he made a order of fries. And then the rest of the time he spent doing the front window and giving people meals. And I'm sure that almost everybody in that line were like Trump supporters that were like handpicked by people in the local area. Okay. But oh man, it was a good campaign event. Every person that came up had something to say and was super happy to see him, and all of his interactions with people were just expert. when it comes to people and dealing with people, Donald Trump is just a once in a generation talent. People always said that Bill Clinton had that kind of aura, but Donald Trump surpasses even Bill Clinton in that respect. And the video that they posted on TikTok about it was the #1 TikTok video. So it does have an impact, and I would say it was probably one of the most successful like campaign media event things I've ever seen. Something that could maybe move the needle a little bit. I don't know. Like, one of the things is that I'm not convinced that there's really that many people that are really truly persuadable. They say that they're persuadable, but I'm going to bet you that most of those people that are sitting on the fence are like secret Donald Trump supporters, right? So the real question is, how do you get your people out on election day? And one of the problems that's kind of been alluded to is that the Republican, I was going to say Donald Trump, but the Republican turnout operation isn't very good. They've always kind of lagged behind in this respect. And past few times, Donald Trump has kind of said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And then, like, they didn't really get it done very well. And this time around, their approach has been, we're going to give it to private organizations. They may have private organizations that are going to go out and they're going to do the work. And supposedly what's been happening is that these organizations, because a bounty is paid and everything, they just only go after like the easiest targets. And so like those easy targets are hit like over and over and over and over and over and over again. So the theory is that the Republican turnout operation isn't very good this cycle. They've done pretty good on the rules side, but that turnout might be a problem. But if you're having campaign events like this, you have the momentum and all of those things. I think those voters will turn up for him. I really do. So, there was definitely something at the beginning here in the treasuries, but they've gotten stuck in the rut at 26 again. my wife is they went to her parents to visit for fall break, and they decided to come back this morning, which I'm a little bit surprised about. But I'm just reading, and apparently they had an issue where there was enough seats on the plane, but they were not together, and so they couldn't seat the kids together, and they had to convince somebody to move. They couldn't get that person to move, but eventually they did. That's kind of funny. Oh, look, Zero Hedge is picking up on the McDonald's story thing too. Left McTriggered after Donald Trump does fun publicity stunt. Did I click it? Let me read here. On Sunday, Donald Trump poked fun at Kamala Harris's dubious claim that she worked at McDonald's and made fries by going to a McDonald's and making fries, plus working the drive-thru. And do they have any commentary? No. While most on the right thought it was a fun pre-election publicity stunt, it really triggered the left, which didn't know what to do. If McDonald's will hire adjudicated rapists and 34 times convicted felons, I'm never eating there again. The sour pusses even posted a gotcha suggesting that because the McDonald's closed for Trump's event, the whole thing was staged. Well, duh. The guy... right? The guy was almost assassinated 2 or 3 times, and this is for fun, yeah. It is totally a staged campaign event. All campaign events are staged, guys. Tim Walz had jazz hands of fury, and despite all the lies insisting that Kamala Harris actually worked there, we're not sure. We're sure he's not lying this time too. Hell. And stuff. Good morning. Oh, okay. Then Tim Walz still doubles down on that Kamala Harris did work at McDonald's, even though McDonald's doesn't have any record of it. Matt Drudge posted an anti-Trump. It's you know, one of the if you want to know why Republicans are afraid of Donald Trump, okay, look no further than Matt Drudge. Drudge Report is shambles post-Trump. Oh my, I saw this story yesterday, but I didn't realize that there would be that much interest in it. Twitch has blocked new users from Israel. 6.3 thousand comments on the live stream fail thread. That's actually a decent amount. Oh, wow. This is going back to May 2024. So people haven't been able to make an account for Twitch from Israel since May. Yeah. Oh wow! All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I see why there's so much chatter about it now. Do you use Footprint Chart? Asks Business Contact. Not very often, but it can be a useful tool. If I was like swing trading, and I wanted to check up on what had been going on in the market when I wasn't around, then maybe I would make more use of the Footprint Chart. But since I'm only interested in the action that is happening while I'm here, I just see it on the DOM, and I don't really need the Footprint Chart. So I'm not going to say that it's a useless tool, but it's just not one that I particularly use a lot. And I would add that by and large, the things that people teach about footprint charts is just technical analysis applied to a footprint chart and doesn't really do anything for you. It is interesting to understand why Twitch's business intelligence/analytics team did not notice this for all this time, or whether they did and the ban was a known Twitch policy that was not made public. Okay, so these people are saying that it's because Hassan is being anti-Semitic and they don't want the Israelis to see it. I don't know. This is wild. How could Destiny get away with this? These people. Oh my gosh. Hassan is actually the Twitch CEO, but there's a misconception that it's Dan Clancy. Dude, that is... Maybe one of these days, I think that it would be like really far in the future, but maybe one of these days we have I make a video about footprint charts and I show you some back tests on those. I can't believe Destiny is winning against Twitch. Well, okay, so the interesting thing about this is that, well, not the interesting thing, but the reason that they're saying that is because Destiny and a couple of his friends have created an alternative streaming platform called Kick, I believe. And that's where Destiny streams. And part of the reason that Kick was created was because there was some of these guys like train wrecks and all this. I know way too much about this stuff. Yeah, Destiny doesn't own Kick, but he is over there. Okay, and he's part of that like crew. Okay. I actually think it was Trainwrecks, but I could be wrong. But anyways, some of these guys that were doing the gambling streams basically created it so that they could continue to do gambling streams. It's basically what it is. And the funny thing about it is that it runs on the Amazon streaming infrastructure. So it's basically, it runs on Twitch's infrastructure, even though it's a separate website. Yeah. So Kick and Rumble. Rumble's different. Rumble is kind of more, I mean, you can stream on Rumble. And in fact, we've streamed on Rumble, but I guess I kept forgetting to do it. Rumble is kind of more right-wingers that are upset about being banned on YouTube. Rumble is kind of terrible, not gonna lie. Well, I don't know anything about like if the quality of the service is good, but every time that I go over there, the content that it recommends to me is not interesting to me. So, yeah. But anyways, so Kick is kind of viewed as kind of seedy, right? So that's why people are joking about it, is they're like, well, if Twitch is going to fall apart, because there's a couple of things going on over at Twitch that don't look good. Okay. If Twitch were to fall apart, Kick would probably take the crown. People would either go to YouTube streaming or Kick. Actually, maybe they're just more likely to go to YouTube streaming. In a kind of a similar vein, over let's say late last week, Twitter decided to tell everybody that any image that you post on Twitter can potentially be used in their artificial intelligence image generation. And all of the artists out there were immediately went ballistic and left and went over to Blue Sky. So, what is oh yeah, that's right. Deck.blue. So there's this application called Deck.blue that is basically TweetDeck for Blue Sky. And you can see that Blue Sky is basically Twitter. It's basically Twitter. And I don't know why it hadn't picked up earlier. I think that maybe they kind of had like a staged rollout and everything. Because back when people were leaving, everybody was going to like Mastodon and these sorts of things. But now I'm kind of thinking, oh, they're all going to go to Blue Sky. Because Blue Sky is created by Jack Dorsey, right? So like, I think Blue Sky is just going to become the new Twitter. Oh, Threads. Yeah, well, and Threads, which is supposed to be like Facebook's Twitter clone. Yeah, and nobody used Threads. And Threads is not suitable for the uses that I think people use Twitter for. But Blue Sky is. Here we got a TweetDeck. We can see tweets as they come in live. So we can do what we need to do, which is follow breaking news on Blue Sky. Except for that I don't know who to follow. I'm just speculator Seth on there. Oh, I can verify my email? Hold on a second. I didn't realize they sent that. Oh, it didn't. Okay. Oh, okay. It wants to do it like this. Okay. I gotcha. Da, da, da. Like, come on. And it will give me, it will show me stuff that's happening. But most of it is artists. Right? So it's all artists. So I don't know who on Blue Sky to follow. But it seems to me that Blue Sky could be a viable alternative to Twitter or sorry, X. Nobody calls it X. Why did he rebrand it to X? That's just like the dumbest thing, right? Don't get it. Whatever. So I don't think that it's really worth touching right now because it's still pretty slow and everything. But it's been down here for so long. I'd say there's a pretty good chance that it's going to bounce at some point. When it's been in the zipper for that long, the zipper usually reverses. Means that like we found a like we made one of those liquidity holes, but now we've been in the liquidity hole a lot longer than what it would take for the liquidity to heal. And that means that there's not a meta order taking us the other way. And so maybe somebody comes in and decides to reverse it. Not a super worthwhile trade, but yeah, no edge. Well, I mean, I would say that maybe there's a slight edge in it, although how reliable it is a little bit sketchy. But I think that there's a little bit of an edge in there, but that the reward that you can get from it isn't necessarily the greatest. Yep, that's what we call it, a zipper. Here, let me show you. Let me make a new chart here. Okay, so I have like a 1 minute chart on here, right? We're saying, let's just change these to boxes. So that way we don't have to deal with all the wicks. Oops. Get rid of the outlines. Transparent outlines. Okay. Now, instead of it being a minute chart, let's change it into a one range chart. So this should show us, oh my gosh, did it do this again? Boo. Okay, there we go. All right. So when you change it to a one range chart, yeah, you'll get these sorts of things. So what does that look like? Looks like a zipper. So we called it a zipper. And I did a back test, and the back test said if it goes back 16 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. If it goes more than 16, that it's likely to reverse. I was testing it only getting like 1 or 2 ticks. Okay. But that was the edge. And it was actually like one of the best statistically found things I had ever looked at. I think that there's some issues with like the queue and everything, but that there does seem to be, there's a much greater chance that it will come up than that it will go down by 2 ticks. It'll go up 2 ticks before it goes down 2 ticks. Pretty good. But you know, it's technical analysis. It's kind of one of those things that I think is kind of dodgy. But like we do kind of, now that we understand all these other things about the market, I kind of understand why it happens, because zipper forms is a really strong sign that there's a liquidity hole there. So that's probably what happened, is we had a little bit of a down move, and then this is where the liquidity hole formed, right? And if we've been in a liquidity hole long enough, and we don't, you know, the liquidity has healed, but it hasn't popped out of it, then that probably means that the trend is going to reverse. Hey man, how's life? Not bad. Just a pretty uneventful weekend. Did a little bit of work, did some recording, didn't really do a whole lot on Sunday, but I worked pretty good on Monday. Got 2 videos coming for you guys. I think I'll do the shorter one. I got 2, but there was like one that was longer and one that I think I'll do the shorter one first, and then give me some time to get some better video clips for the second one. Whatever happened to the car? We never found them, D, we never found them. We went and used an aftermarket solution to reprogram the car and get 2 new sets of keys. And it wasn't that expensive. It was only like you know, $100 per set of keys or something like that. But we never found the actual key that we had lost. I wonder if it's really actually in this house now at this point. I wonder if I'd actually like fell on the floor or something. I would have thought that if that had happened that the car would stop working, but like it's not. It can't be in the house. We've cleaned the house thoroughly so many times since then. There's no way. So yeah, we never found it. Isn't that crazy? Let's close this. So here's this on advice animals. Advice Duck says, stop, for people that are Trump supporters, stop leaving comments. You look like complete effing, yeah, dope. Anyways, so I think that maybe they're upset that like not everybody is falling for their astroturfing. There was this what was the thread about? I think it was the McDonald's thread actually yesterday. There's this one I came, and it probably looks different now, but when I looked at it yesterday, like every comment was downvoted. Like there was one top level comment that was actually positive, and everything else was downvoted. Like people weren't going along with it. Crazy. I'm telling you, it's astroturfing. That's something for mark my words. Mark my words, it will be revealed that advice animals and several other prominent subreddits were heavily astroturfed during the election. Joke's on them. I'm pretty sure I caught a shadow ban a long time ago. Every once in a while, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm shadow banned, but then I'll have a comment that like just pops off. So I think that probably more the case that a lot of the time I'm just coming in and commenting late, but. Every once in a while I consider using Reddit and then I hit myself with a drywall. Well, like for communities, I'm telling you, man, they pretty much killed off everything else. I mean, the place used to be forums and everything moved to Facebook. Or, well, sorry, not everything moved to Facebook. Everything moved to Reddit. I mean, you could do Facebook groups. Like that's those are your choices. Those are your choices. Reddit or Facebook groups. And I would rather use Reddit personally. But you know what? My wife, she reads Facebook groups a lot. And so I guess it works for some people. How the U.S. election impacts market. Why is this news so important? I hear you. Yeah. Well, because the reality is that the market is heavily dependent upon the government these days. The government is becoming a larger... So think of it this way, okay? Like you have the whole GDP of the United States, right? And the question is, what percentage of that GDP is government outlays, government expenditures? Because you could come in and you could say, like, how much tax revenue did the government collect, and how much, you know, money did they spend, and like what's their deficit and things like that. But the problem is that they can print money and just spend it, right? And we end up paying a tax on that in the form of inflation. So to really get an idea of like what the overall tax burden is, that is to say, the percentage of the economy that is, or government expenditures as a percent of GDP. And government expenditures as a percent of GDP is the highest it's ever been. It's not like breaking out to like new monumental levels or anything, but it's the highest that it's ever been. And so when we're in a situation like that, what does that mean? That means that the government has a large impact on the economy, because the government is a huge portion of that economy. And so who ends up being president is going to matter very significantly to markets. We want to think that the market is not I think that some of us you know, we want to get involved in some sort of a news thing, some sort of an issue, want to feel like we belong and that we're having an impact on something. But then you go into politics and you're like, well, this is just a shit show. I don't want to be involved in politics. So where can I go? Oh, well, I can go into finance. That should be a place, finance and business, that should be a place where politics are not involved, right? No, wrong. Politics are probably even more involved in the business than ever. So, did you see what what did he do? Milei? What did Milei do? Oh, we should search. Milei. Javier Milei news. Milei is taking a chainsaw to the Argentine states. and libertarian stuff. Yeah, you know, it's so he makes me a little bit apprehensive, to be honest with you. Javier, yes, sorry. Because that economy, like their government got so big, is just this absolute monster. And so, yeah, in that situation, all you got to do is start tearing down that government, monster, and you get a lot of big benefits from it, essentially, right? I think that Argentina still has some long-term problems. And the issue is going to be that after he's been in there for, 2 to 4 years, they're going to stop getting the easy gains. And, libertarian ideology in general is very naive. It's very naive. And so, it makes me a little bit apprehensive, like that people like fully embrace the libertarian ideology, and then that kind of results in problems. So, but there's a real problem with the government getting too big. Okay, like you need government, and there's a certain role the government needs to play, but it should be limited, in my opinion. And people have forgotten that. Basically, what has happened is elites kind of see the government as a way to force in all of these things that they want to happen so that they can create a utopia. Oh, if we can just force everybody to do this, then everything would be great. Oh, if we can just force everybody to have the prices that we think they should be, then everything will be great, right? So even like at the global level, right? If local governments don't really matter and we have a world governing organization, then we can have free trade and force everybody to follow the rules so that there's never any reason for protectionism, right? Except for that China is pretty much breaking the rules and nobody does the thing about it, and it's been going on for decades now. So seems like that one's not working. Well, you asked, so Amen says, how, not why. Well, but that is how the election impacts the market. Well, I guess it's why the election impacts the markets. You want to know what the actual trade is, right? And I really don't like to make a call on a longer term trade like that. But if you go back earlier in the stream, that was kind of how we started the stream out, was talking about that. There does appear to be a pro-Trump trade going on, and it appears that perhaps one element of that, and we're unclear how strong of a trade that is, how much of the downside flow that we are getting is that versus other things, but it does appear that part of that pro-Trump trade is interest rates rising. Interest rates rising, maybe that's part of why gold is rising. I think it's probably very likely why Bitcoin has been rising. Although Bitcoin's not doing so hot this morning. Let me check over here. Okay, like they're still okay. They're still above this 6,700 area, but still, that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong right there. I agree, but in that one situation, it might be the right call. We'll see. Yeah. It's just what I want to do is I want to give people the information that they need to be able to make their own trades rather than trying to give people suggestions on my trades. Right? I don't want to be the Jim Cramer. Like, I think that you can learn a lot from watching Jim Cramer's show, especially that beginning of the show, because he does a really good job of showing, explaining what the fund managers and the money might be thinking, why the market is moving the way that it does. But as soon as you get a big guy like that and he makes a recommendation on the stock, like, that stock's going to pop off and the recommendation kind of becomes useless to you. So I think that giving recommendations or trades, or, you know, whether they're short-term or long-term trades, is not really my objective. My objective is to teach you all of the things that you would need to know to be able to make your own conclusion. Isn't there a fund that fades Jim Cramer? Actually, I think that there is, but I don't think that fund has necessarily been doing super great either. So the issue is, again, if Jim Cramer recommends something, it will immediately pop off in the aftermarket. So if you buy it in the aftermarket, you almost certainly get screwed. And then the price is elevated the next day, so you don't get a very good price the next day either. If you really, really like if he, you know, what he said, you really, really liked it, then you should, like, wait a couple of weeks till everybody's forgotten about it and then buy it then. But the better thing to do would be to watch his show, kind of have an idea of what kind of stocks he likes and everything, and, you know, have picked the stock long before he ever talks about it. That's the way to really do it. But, you know, comes back to this whole, like, one of these pet peeves of mine: trading is not following. People seem to think that trading is about following other people. It's just not. It's about knowing what's going to happen, knowing what other people are going to do before they do it. Because once they've done it, the opportunity's already passed. I mean, I'm really not a fan of CFDs. Anytime that you're trading against your broker, it's basically, you're going to have a bad time. Okay, so it looks like they are maybe going to go for the low here. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I need to take care of something here real quick.
Block sell.
Uzi says effing finally. Did you see that? Oh, wasn't that so? Actually, I'm glad that I had this open like this so that you could see the monster sell at 24. 6K hitting at 24. Somebody puked big there. That was quite the move. And when I was like, oh, they might go for the low here. No, I kind of thought that they could. Yeah, they're gonna go. I didn't expect there to be like 6K lots and everything. I should have just taken a trade there, huh? Should have just gone short at basically 25. That would have been an okay. Yeah, you could be taking it off right now, but like, gosh, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. There was another 4,000 at 23.5. Like, they really dumped there hard, and it was across the board too. All of the treasuries went. That's very curious. I don't think, well, like when I look at Twitter, the only stuff I really see recently, Israeli military says it intercepted 5 drones in the Mediterranean Sea before crossing into the country. That's all I got. So I don't think that that's why the treasuries are selling off. I think that it was just like they got to the lows and a bunch of guys puked. That's pretty crazy. And from the top, so when it was about 28 is as high as it was. So from 28 to 23, that was about 20,000 contracts net selling in the 10-year treasury. Talk about USA and Contra USA. Yeah, well, I'm really not very interested in Forex, to be honest with you. Other than knowing where they moved. Japanese yen moved along with us on the downside here. We do have something at the top of the hour here, don't we? US leading index change. That's not a huge deal. More leverage, I suspect, that says Susie. Well, the way that it's acting right now, like after that, really, really strongly suggests to me that it was just a puke. Because, like, it's already kind of reversing back up, right? You're already seeing the post-impact mean reversion. Somebody really big had to puke. Well, actually, it could be somebody just trying to really Because it was right by those big moving averages too, right? Oh, here we go. Alligator has a Forex Live link. Let's look at that. Yep, the 200-day. Treasury yields are creeping above the top of the recent range in an unsettling move today. That's weighed on stock futures, which are down about 2%, and helped to lift the USD JPY by 40 pips. The question remains, how much of this is pricing out a recession and how much of it is pricing in inflation? How is them selling pricing in a recession? That doesn't make sense. If it was a recession, I think that they would outright be buying the treasuries. I'm in the camp. Oh, maybe it's about erasing. Okay, so they're just wording that incorrectly. I'm in the camp that the vast majority of it is about erasing the recession fears from late July in light of a Fed put and a much better economic data. On Friday, I went through the 16 corporate conference calls and it was tough to find any indication of a slowing economy. But every tick higher in yields is a warning sign that the pause in Fed rate cuts might come sooner than expected. US 2s are creeping towards 4%, which is still restrictive. So long as you believe that the Fed will cut in a weakening economy, 400 basis points of ammunition is fine, but if it's a situation where they can't cut because of inflation, perhaps the election is driving the trade right now, so we'll have to wait 2 weeks before any clarity there. Ian Lingen from BMO highlights 4.17 as the level to watch in the 10s. In the week ahead, there is a limited docket of fundamental events that could inspire trading direction in the US market, in the US rates market. The resulting environment will be one in which external markets, headlines, and other developments will have a disproportionately large influence on the direction of yields. It's also a backdrop for the technicals to be of elevated relevance as the recent bearish tone has brought yields to the top of the local yield range. The 200-day moving average in the 10s remains a bearish beacon at 4.170%, and in the event of another leg lower, this will be our target as well as potential inflection point for dip buyers. Amen. I cannot see your links, and I don't really like his videos anyways. I don't really like his videos anyways. Good to tell you, if like any other YouTube influencer watch my stream, they'd probably be mad. But I'm not trying to be like have no friends or anything. It's nothing personal. It's just I don't particularly enjoy other people's content. Unless he has like a video about a study that he read, then I'm be all over it. But But if you post a link, I won't see it. You'd have to tell me the name of the video or something like that. Trying to get a hold of my mom to pick my wife and kids up because I got a conflict, but she's not picking up. So they might just have to, wait at the airport a little bit. It'll probably be okay. The title is Order Flow doesn't. Yeah, I've watched that video. I don't think it's a very good video. We've actually talked about that on the stream before. $23 was last week's pit low. You could be. I mean, look, there's iceberging. Like, there's people buying it here. There is people playing that for a bounce. Whether they'll continue to be playing it for a bounce or whether more sell orders will come in remains to be seen. But at the moment, there is definitely interest in this area. Just seeing Brandon in Discord, or Brando rather, saying, it's kind of frustrating that you'll get like a good trend in the overnight and then during our pit session it's super choppy. But when volatility is relatively low, and I would say that the VIX has been pretty low lately, that's what tends to happen. That's what it was like in 2017. So very much like that in 2017. And be interesting because we could get some monster trends. We could get some crazy trend breaks and all of these sorts of things. But outside of that action, it's likely to be really choppy and difficult in the treasuries. Man, this one's a real monster. That is 8K on one side and 4K on the other side. Okay, 10K. 10K to make it go off for a 24.5. And just an average downtick, 1,400 offered. Now that it's getting interesting, I'm trying to give you a little bit more of an idea of like what I'm seeing here. So like that was just an average downtick. It looks like those offers are a little flighty. Like a little bit of volume traded there and some orders pulled, but nothing too big. I don't think that it should be too hard for them to tick back up, but it's not clear enough. It's maybe slightly like it's going to tick in the direction that there's less liquidity most of the time. But like once they start stacking above 2,000, that's kind of like it could start to shift. So the next tick could be down. But if it had like ticked down and like that, there was like 2,500 on there, like almost immediately, that would have been something different. The moment it kind of looks like there was a really big order that traded at 24.5, and now so far, no good indication that there's any kind of big order or desire to trade that. Okay, so see now there's... Okay, so they did trade down. There's about 3,000 contracts to trade 24. Still an average downtick. So I would say... Oh, okay, they're going to try and lift it. I would say that that was still just kind of an average downtick. Not any signs, but now we'll see. Okay, 4,000 contracts to take it bid again. So there was a little bit of an offer iceberg right there. It's likely that what we're getting here is kind of like a collision. Like you got big guys on both sides here taking a trade. But I think that they may have both just gotten their fill. So I can't really guess which way it will go from here. The 24.5 still looks pretty solid. See, because 24 seems like a little bit too low for there to be a liquidity hole. But at the moment, that's probably more likely to become the liquidity hole than 24.5, which is where the hole was before. Well, I have a time and sales open down here. Right. Or reconstructed tape. Gives you, well, what do you think that we're looking at here, eh, man? I see them right here. Sweeps aren't really a thing in treasuries. But when I think you see a sweep better on the DOM than you do in the times and sales. Nah. Times and sales, though, is good if you have a reconstructed tape to see really large single orders. Like that big 6K that traded way back at, I can't even see it anymore. 24. Traded at 24. Like in general, because of that really big order that came through there, I don't really want to touch it in this area unless I'm willing to like market make around it. and I have like a really strong theory about which way it's going to be going afterwards, which I don't. So I'm trying to get an idea of what they think about this area, and so far all I can see is that it looks like a little bit of low latent liquidity at 24. Okay. Somebody has stacked a little bit down that 22 there. That's interesting. You think it will touch 20? I should note, by the way, that we've been seeing a slight bit of steepening. Not watching treasuries, so I know it's key levels, but well, I don't know. There's definitely some key levels here, but because they're such key levels, it's really hard to know if they're gonna bust them or not. You're likely to just get a lot of noise around them, is kind of like what's happening right now. I'm really interested to see if they can get 24 and 25 to go bid again, because when you get like a big sell like that and then those prices go bid, people kind of start to flip. Octavius likes it long. Yeah. See, he's thinking the same thing I am. He's like, well, okay, if we can get like 2 ticks above that, then it might unwind. I don't know. Like it looks really heavy to me. It looks really heavy, but it doesn't look heavy enough to really shove their way through that 200-day moving average. That's the problem. So I am kind of concerned that like there is some selling here and that they're going to unwind and it's going to push us back up towards the open. On the same side, there is appear to be big guys on both sides of this market, right? So the chances of us thinking that it's like over and then some big guy coming in and pushing it in a direction that we're really not expecting is, I'd say, relatively high. What's the 200-day? Well, I think it's 22. I mean, it can shift a little bit, but basically the market has been saying 22. 22. It's kind of been the support. But let's just say it's 22 because that's where the size is. Yeah. There's a 1,000 lot MBO there. And I've seen 1,000 lot add at both 22 and 23. So somebody does appear to be putting size on in anticipation of it breaking. At least I think that that's why that's there. I don't know who it was that was saying it. Some New York Fed Reserve means abundant. They're talking. Oh, maybe it was Bank of England's Green. It was saying that if the primary factor is high interest rates weighing on consumers, then a recovery could take much longer. And that's kind of seems to be something that I think is happening. And not even on consumers, but just like on companies. Like the job market just does not seem very healthy to me right now. Do you know why market seeks? No, that's people are just, you're just quoting nonsense. The reason that the markets move is because somebody really big is buying or selling it. And unless you know what they're doing, there's no real way to predict it. This whole idea that like, because what you're saying is, there's a big order there and there's a big order there. That means that we're likely to go down there. And I'm telling you that as soon as you start to use that as a signal, it's going to stop working for you. It'll seem like it works every time until it doesn't. Feeling a little sleepy this morning for some reason. Republicans this morning on Twitter are getting excited because the Pennsylvania voter registration data that they got today looks really, really good for Republicans. Well, one does have to wonder. I don't know if it being offer at 24 is a huge deal, especially since, it's only 1,000 lots. But if they decided to go lower, is there more fuel? Did enough people kind of like take the opposite trade of that to stop them out again? I honestly don't think you know what you're talking about, Eamon. Like, what you're saying doesn't even really make sense. There's like words to try and seem profound, but it doesn't really make sense. Okay, iceberging at 23.5. Uptick 2,000 to uptick. Okay. So by the way, they did create a pretty good hole there at 24. But it's been long enough we might see. Oh, okay. 3,000 stacked at 24 now. They were like, hold on a second. No, we want another shot at that. So maybe they will go for it. That's enough to make me want to put a stop limit there. Yeah. You know how... Okay. If you say so. All right, so there was an iceberg there, 23.5. We did get caught into an iceberg. That's not necessarily the greatest thing on the field, because if I hit it, I would like it to be offer already. So it did not catch the edge, but it'll probably... Okay, so there you go. That's what we want. That's what we want. Now let's see if those orders... I'd expect that those orders at 23 would be relatively firm. At first, at least. He's starting to think that it might be a sell. Well, I took the sell just because of that stack at 24, right? Like it's... The timing is right for another leg, and then I kind of started getting some hints in the market depth that maybe they were going to go for it. Let's see if it actually goes through. You know, you might get one of these things where it's just kind of like a little playful tease of that level and then nothing really big happens from it. I should also add that size that was at like 22 has disappeared. Yeah, I might be late on it. Well, the trade that I'm making, they really have to go for a new low. But I don't think that I'm going to hold it for very long. Like having 2,500 stacked on me now is not favorable, right? Okay, still 1437 to trade through it, so I think we're okay. If it had taken like 3,000 contracts to trade back through that again, then I would have been like, hold on, that's not quite right. It's very interesting though that the orders at 22 disappeared. Dollar at the high of the day as treasury yields climb. But the way that sentiment is going also kind of, I think, favors the downside. They're lifting offers. I'm not seeing that. I honestly haven't seen anything too terribly interesting other than 23.5 went offer, and they've kind of gone back and forth on it a little bit. You can't see it, then how do you... Are you saying that it was like really far away? Okay, 2,000? 3,000? I don't like that. I'm gonna scratch that. Even though like it just went offer for me. It was like a big iceberg. Not a big iceberg, but it was an iceberg at 23.5. And not the strongest downtick. So I think I will instead load myself up for it if it happens again. Also, if I can get this thing to go, then I might. Not useful on a liquid market? Well, or no, order flow signals tend to be better on a liquid market, man. Okay, okay. That offers firmed up to 3,000 at one point, and when that happened, you started to see a little bit more selling. Okay. I'm gonna add another one. There appears to be an iceberg there at 23. So I'm going to guess that at 22.5 that those orders are unlikely to pull. But you are starting to get right here. So this is pretty thick right here, right? But it's also pretty thick right there. So I think that this might be like a really, really slow burn down. Is what it's starting to look. How much to come? Oh, I forget, like 250 or something. On ZN at least. Okay, that was a strong downtick. I mean, it wasn't at first, but then almost 4,000 now on the offer. And the 5-year ticked down on it. I think I'm pretty likely to get my fill there. Undecided-ish? I'm still, so like, I think the thing is that, so it looks right now that it's likely to be like the slow moving train down. That doesn't mean that it's not going to, like, you know, probe the 200-day moving average and then bounce back hard. It could still do that. It could, once you get through some of these points, just like really start to accelerate. So selling low, well, so if you're going to sell low, you kind of want to do it like the way that I did, where it's like you're doing it right before it should be going, right? And if it doesn't do it, then you just get out. You can actually limit your risk on a move like that really well. So now the question is, should I risk? I still have 2 contracts on. Should I risk it busting that 21.5? For the second contract, or should I take the second contract off at 22.5? I think I'm going to take the second contract off at 22.5 because I think that I might be able to get some offers filled. Argentina has a long history with the International Monetary Fund, and it's currently its largest debtor. Is it really? I did not know that. Well, yeah, like I said, things look like they're going pretty good for Argentina right now, but in the long run, it's still going to be a very, very tough road for them. You took it long at 23? I definitely feel like I got to be careful to not overstay my welcome. You know what I mean? Like, I think this will continue to be a slow-moving freight train. Like, you know, that's just a pretty good dip in cumulative delta for it to not just keep going. But the potential is there, so you gotta be careful about it. And I getting filled at 22.5 either. There is an iceberg there though. Oh, okay. Let's go. It's a 5-year. So it's interesting. It seems like the 5 and the 30 are kind of, and the 10-year is the one that's been lagging, right? Okay. So what does that give me? 25? Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad. Right? That's like what I would have gotten if I had, like, you know, been short this whole time anyways, right? Now I can kind of just let it ride. Like, if something crazy happens, I can put the stop right there, right? Honestly, I could probably try and grab a tick there again. Why is there a correlation? Well, because if I come over and I have like cash bonds, I can arbitrage the difference between the cash bonds and the treasury bond futures. So, you know, if one were to move and the other one didn't, there, you know, people would be able to come in and take advantage of that. So the market maker tends to watch the other thing and adjust their bids and offers accordingly. So some of these downticks do seem to be actually the 10-year just kind of moving in correlation with the 5 and the 30, because the 5 and the 30 keep ticking first. And the 10-year is kind of lagging a little bit. No, it's because of arbitrage. Like, if this one moves down and this one doesn't, then they're going to buy this one and sell this one. So, you know, saying this one was like the cash, for instance, something that you could like do a straight arbitrage with rather than a yield curve trade. Who does this? I don't know. I So this is making me question the whole, like, even still being in this. I'm going to play this really, really tight, okay? What time did the poll for Trump come out? Oh, I don't know if that was anything this morning. I think I did mention earlier that Republicans were excited because of voter registration numbers from Pennsylvania. But I don't know. Let me go find that. Wow, the video of Trump working at the McDonald's drive-thru has crossed 40 million views on their TikTok. Oh, they stopped me out there. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I just... I don't want to be toxic. I put it on my task list today. Let's see here. On 5 lots? Oh, that was actually really terrible. That was like not the best execution. I mean, I made money and everything, but it was not the best execution of a trade. I miss Salim. It's not Salim, is it? It doesn't seem like it's Salim to me. I had said earlier, this is maybe Salim, but I kind of don't think that it's him. Probably. Amen is probably, yeah. How old are you, Amen? Didn't I establish a theory last time that he was maybe a little autistic? I don't remember. Oh, look, they're still down there. So instead of getting out, I probably could have pulled another contract out. But I don't know. I'm still a little nervous about it for some reason. You like, I do. So, okay. So what you're... So here's the thing, Uzi. Is something that might seem simple to you can be like a really complicated thing to me in my mind, right? So now I think that you're saying that it is Salim. You think that it is Salim, right? I think that he shows some of the hallmark behaviors of Salim, but he's also talking about things that Salim wouldn't talk about. Like he's all talking about Forex and all of these things, you know? Like it just doesn't seem like Salim to me. Oh, hey, another big iceberg at 22. I think that the liquidity is going to be there. So here's the thing. with this whole trade. We know that like the low and like the moving average and everything for the 10-year Treasury futures is at 22. But the number that people were quoting on the news was 4.157. And we are still a little ways away from 4.17. So like 4.17 seems to be the spot where it's like all chaos breaks loose and yada, yada, yada. Kind of seems to me like between here and there that it could just be really tight and liquid. And maybe the sellers will continue selling through, but the offers are not jumping out of the way. They just aren't. It's been a pretty strong amount of volume absorbing on this every step of the way. Big icebergs, etc., etc. But the other thing is, it's not that I like complicating simple things. Like the thing is that I have both networks, right? So I definitely see the case where it's like, there's if somebody comes in the stream and they're a little bit difficult, it's probably Salim, right? So I can definitely see where you're getting that intuition that it's him, right? But then there's this other part of me that always sees all of the complication and et cetera, and kind of and causes me to question it. And that's the thing that causes me to question it, is he's talking about things that Salim wouldn't talk about. Okay, that was a new low, but only just barely. So the issue is, when is when is the best time to use that intuition, and when is a bad time to use that intuition, right? And then when it is a good time to use that intuition, to just trust it, which I never do, right? That's the part that I've definitely not figured out. Interestingly enough, no volume. Oh, one lot in the 2-year micros today, huh? You know what, though? That dollar just keeps creeping up. So I'm kind of wondering if in this case I should have kept my, should have stuck to my intuition that they were going to continue to slow burn down. Because I had a position at 23, right? No selling capitulation yet? Is that kind of what you're waiting for, is a reversal, huh? Because the more I look at this, the more I'm like, I don't think that today is one of those hero trade days. like actually, so here's what I think is going to happen now. Here's my prediction. I think that it will be like a slow creeper for most of this session. I don't know if they'll get that much further, though. And then it will like bounce hard like in the overnight session or when we're not paying attention, right? sent me something. Let me see, D. The options flow looks very bearish. Okay. On TLT, yes, it does. Oh, it's kind of interesting how it moved so much right there. Because that was when, like, those really big block trades came through, right? So that's really interesting. So what do they know? You know what, BS? I'm kind of not convinced that they know anything, though. I kind of think that this is really more like, what would we say? Dude, I need to get my brain working better than that today. What is this word that I use all the time that means it comes from within? No, not intuition. Endogenous, that's the word that I'm looking for. I think that it could just be endogenous. Like endogenous, we were stuck in a range, they came out of that range, somebody puked, it kind of turns into a bigger thing. Now we're playing with big moving averages and things like that, so like people are speculating. Like this is not normal action, I would say. Like, coming back to this right here, right? If we take all of this away and we come back to here, and we're like, look at that. This is terrible action today. This isn't a good market to trade. And then what happened? What did we say? Well, it's spent so much time there, we're likely to see a little bit of a pullback. Okay, we did. We got that, right? And then all of a sudden, goodish, okay? Like, well, it came back for a little bit and then somebody puked. So I really think that was somebody that puked. And then ever since then, I look at it's been really slow mover down. It's been a really slow creeper. So this is not normal behavior. And there's like really big iceberging on the bids every step of the way as well. So this really strongly looks to me like market makers holding strong liquidity and clashing into really big speculators speculating on some sort of a break of the 200-day moving average. It's the French fry effect. So now the issue that I see is that to really get these shorts to like stop out and stuff, I think that you would have to get them above like 24. So I don't feel very good about the hero trade anymore. See, there it is again, 6K at 21.5. This is very much acting like something that kind of ends up being a trend day or a double distribution day. Like, again, it was only like, what, 4 ticks, but still. Octavia says, no, me neither, yeah. So it's talking about don't feel really confident in the hero trade. Because, yeah, you've got all of this volume short and everything, but they're not going to freak out until 24. Because they're that much in the money. Yeah. Still. Another thing I would note is that these offers aren't as strong as they were. Like, they were all over 5,000 and now they're not. So I kind of question if there's really a super large meta order sell going on in here. Or if there's multiple meta order sells and one of them is done. Wow, and 4K at 21.5. It's like those bids just never gonna stop eating it, are they? $7K. Ooh, but 3,000 is traded on the offer? What? What? I didn't quite catch that. Did that all trade just as it ticked down? Like, those were all market if touched orders or something? Because that sure came strong. But it's staying offer. So that's real heavy. Yeah. Well, I'm also reminded earlier we were talking about the big orders, because it did in the end go towards those big orders, didn't they? Although I think they mostly pulled. I guess there's kind of a big order at 20. You know what, guys? It's time for me to get going. I lost track of the time. I will catch you later.